Okay, hello everyone. Welcome to the first in a series of video vlogs that we're going to be doing for the regional district. Today I'm speaking with Brandy Rafuse, who's our bylaw enforcement officer, about our new bylaw enforcement bylaw. Welcome, Brandy, and maybe I'll start just by asking you a basic question of what are bylaws for?
Hi, Francis. Bylaws are in place to keep our communities safe and livable for all of our residents.
Okay, great. And this bylaw in particular, the bylaw enforcement bylaw that came into effect at the beginning of January, what's changed in the region now that we've got this bylaw in place?
This new bylaw allows me to write bylaw offense notices, so tickets, which is an enforcement tool for me to use if property owners are not coming into compliance with our bylaws.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. And was before, what was in effect before we put into this into place?
Before we had the ticketing, we had to go to a long form information, which was summoning a person to a provincial court system.
Okay, so it just gives an easier method of enforcing some of the laws that are in place for everybody's benefit within the region. So,
yes.
So what's the process that triggers? First of all, what kind of bylaws are we enforcing in the region? Like, is it building bylaws? Is it zoning bylaws? What does this apply to?
There's a couple different kinds of bylaws that are in the enforcement bylaw. Zoning bylaws, for sure, and building bylaws are the two big ones, but we also have some under animal control, and there's an environmental bylaw as well.
Okay, so essentially when you're on your property, that can be everything from how you're building your house to how far that you're setting it back from another property or a body of water, any of those kinds of things people are having to deal with in their day-to-day lives.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and so what's the process that triggers you to investigate a bylaw infraction, and what are the steps you might take along the way?
I have to get a written complaint first. So once I have a written complaint, I will then go out to the property, check out the property and see if there is a bylaw infraction happening. If I determine that there is one happening, then I contact the property owner and discuss with them what the bylaws are and what's happening on their property that I would like them to change. And then we go from there.
So it sounds like the first step is education, helping people understand what the bylaws are about.
Yes, that's correct. The goal of bylaw is to get people to come into compliance with the bylaws.
And do you find when you first talk to people about a bylaw infraction, whether they're aware of what they need to do, or is that something that you speaking with them about actually helps with?
I find often the first contact I have with a property owner, they're often not aware there is a bylaw regarding the specifics that I'm there to talk about. So a lot of it is education. A lot of people are unaware of what bylaws there are on their property.
That makes sense, and I think each of us has done things where we have a goal in mind and we don't stop to think about some of the rules that might be in place for good reason. So that makes sense to me. So if you issue a ticket, what happens then?
When I issue a ticket, on the back side of the ticket, it explains to the property owner how to pay the ticket or how they can dispute it if they don't agree with it.
Okay, so much like a traffic safety ticket or something like that, there's a process where people can dispute and challenge the ticket. And who does that go to, that dispute or that review?
The information's on the back of the ticket. It would be sent back to the district office, and from there it would go to a screening officer, which is somebody employed by or contracted by the district to screen the ticket to see if it should go forward.
Okay, and then what about the adjudication process itself? How does that work?
So if we go to adjudication, what happens is I provide all the information I have about the bylaw offense, and the property owner that has the ticket issued to them and myself will appear before the adjudicator, which can happen in person or by phone or video. And the adjudicator determines if the bylaw offense did occur.
And if the bylaw offense, if they deem it didn't occur, what happens?
If the adjudicator deems the offense did not occur, then the ticket is voided and the matter is over.
And if the reverse happens and they decide that it did occur?
If it did occur, the adjudicator said, then what happens is the ticket has to be paid. And as well, like the ticket clearly states, there's a $25 extra adjudication fee on top of that.
Okay, so the fees go up. So it is similar, analogous to kind of traffic violations. Now, let's say somebody lets these tickets pile up. They, you know, like some people do with traffic tickets as well. What might happen then?
If the tickets pile up, they can go to collections. So they will be, the money will be collected. And if the tickets pile up and the offense keeps occurring, then I can go to the long form information and summon that person to the courts.
Okay, so it follows a process, again, much like traffic violations, where it advances further into the legal system. Now, having established kind of that end of things, what's a message you'd like to pass along people without scaring them all about this bylaw enforcement bylaw, which of course has a good reason, and it allows us to make sure that people are in compliance with bylaws that are for everybody's well-being. Any comments you'd want to make about your role at the RDKB to reassure people a bit?
My role at the RDKB is to help people understand the bylaws and to come into compliance with them. If I have a complaint about your property, you will hear from me and I'll talk to you about it. I might give you some dates I want things done by, and as long as you're working with me towards coming into compliance, that's the goal. My goal is not to give you tickets and penalize you financially, but my goal is to get everyone in compliance with the bylaws. So just keep communication open with me.
Like most things, communicate and understand what's going on. And just to thank you for that information today, Brandy, and we'll have other videos on topics that people request. And if you want any more information about a bylaw enforcement bylaw or bylaw enforcement, any of those kind of topics, you can go to rdkb.com, and under public safety bylaw enforcement, you'll find more information. So thanks, Brandy. And
thank you.
We'll talk to everybody again on the next topic that comes up.
I totally messed up at the beginning.